Hello everyone, today we're going to discuss long haul versus a short haul and what it may mean to you as an independent truck dispatcher. So, as an aspiring truck dispatcher, sooner or later you are going to hear from your clients that they are looking for long haul loads. So what is a long haul load? Well, in general, a long haul load will be a load that travels a distance of 700 miles or more. Alternatively, a short haul load will be a load that travels 300 miles or less. Anything in between we can consider a medium range load. So what are the advantages of long haul loads? First and foremost, drivers love them. The reason they love them is because they usually get loaded once and then they keep on driving for 2, 3, 4 days. Dispatchers love them for the same reason. Instead of booking a load every day for your client, you just book one load and it covers the truck for 3 or 4 days. So there is less work for you as a dispatcher to do. Another advantage of long haul loads is a lot of gross revenue. Loads that travel a long distance pay a lot of money. Sometimes they may pay $5,000, $6,000, $8,000. So they seem to be very attractive. And that brings us to the first negative. While the rate may seem attractive from the gross revenue standpoint, an actual rate per mile may not be as great. You see, when you're buying something in bulk, you are usually getting a discount. If you go to Costco, you buy a lot of product and get a lower price. Similar concept works here. Your client will get to drive a lot of miles, but more than likely he will have to do it at a discount. Another disadvantage is that these loads are not as abundant as medium and short range loads, which means there are fewer available and you may or may not be able to find one. And if you do find one, it may not pay the rate per mile your client is looking for. And if you do find one, you may discover yet another disadvantage. Let's say your client wants to drive a lot of miles and you manage to find a load for 2,300 miles or so. That takes your client from, let's say, East Coast to the West Coast. So now they're very far away from their home base. And to return them back, you're going to have to find yet another long-range load, which may or may not be available, as we have previously discussed. Or it may not pay the same rate as your client received traveling in this direction. Going back, the rate might be much lower and your client will have no other option to accept it in order to return. Obviously, there are various logistical tricks you can use in order to return your client back without taking too much of a financial hit, but just to keep in mind that those long haul loads have certain disadvantages. And now that we covered advantages and disadvantages of a long haul loads, let's briefly discuss advantages and disadvantages of a short haul load. Well, first logical advantage of a short haul load is that your driver or client doesn't have to travel too far. They're not going to be wearing out their equipment or burning a lot of fuel. They're also not going to face the logistical problem because they are close to their point of origin and they can easily return to their home base or run within the area they desire to service. And one of the main advantages of a short haul loads are the higher rates per mile. Since your client is not traveling far, they still have to be compensated for the time they have to spend loading, unloading, or actually holding the load until the delivery. So the rates per mile are going to be much higher than they're going to be for a long haul. And some clients actually love it. They don't have to drive far, they don't have to work as hard, and they will be paid for basically their time. Now, when it comes to disadvantages of a short haul load, they're basically the opposite of a long haul load, and that is they do not offer as much gross revenue. They are quite a hassle from standpoint of driver waiting to get loaded and unloaded quite frequently. For you as a dispatcher, you may have to book a load every day or maybe sometimes 2 short loads per day, which requires more work. And some clients may be just opposed to dealing with these types of loads. So what kind of loads should you book? Should you target long haul loads or short haul loads? Well, in my opinion, you need to keep certain type of a balance. You see, booking a lot of miles at a low rate per mile is not very good for your client, and vice versa. Booking a load with a really high rate per mile but with a very low number of miles also is not ideal for your client. So what you may want to find is some sort of a balance where your client gets to drive a reasonable amount of miles at a reasonable rate per mile. Now, ultimately, it is going to be your client's decision. They will tell you what they want to do, and since you, as an independent truck dispatcher, you are servicing your client, you will have to cater to their needs. However, it is important that you explain to them and educate them on the advantages and disadvantages of each load type. You need to explain to them that while it may sound as a very desirable option to drive long haul loads, there are some disadvantages. That driving a lot of miles at a lower rate, because a lot of long haul loads will pay less per mile, may not be always advantageous to them. You may also want to point out to them that these types of loads are not always available, and it might be much more beneficial to them to transport a medium range load instead of just sitting and waiting for a good long range option to show up. So to summarize, I would like to point out that there is no right or wrong load type. You should not be looking at long haul loads as good loads or short haul loads as bad loads. It all depends on your client's goals. So talk to your client and try to find out what is more important to your client. Do they want to drive a lot of miles and willing to accept lower rate per mile? Or would they like to get the highest rate per mile and they don't care how many miles they are going to drive? Or maybe there is something in between. And based on what your client tells you, you can select the strategy for the type of loads you are going to book for them. And with that being said, we are going to wrap up this video, and I will see you next time.